Hello and welcome to this week's Old School Q&A. I am delighted to be joined by, hang on, I've got a lot, Mod Husky,
Hello.
Mod Elena,
Hi.
Mod Flippy,
Hello.
Mod Kieran,
Yo.
and behind the scenes we've got Mod Tide on the chat, so at Old School RS should you have any questions, and we've got Mod Spear running things behind the scenes. This stream, we'll race through some of the chat questions from last week, do it super quick. We've got some league questions to answer. We've got the Halloween event to tease. That's a little sneak peek for you. And we'll be answering other miscellaneous questions that have popped up over the week when you've replied to our calls for questions. First of all, though, announcements. So, minigames. Today, the Soul Wars and Minigames poll has ended. A big thank you to the 50,000 plus players who voted. Head to a poll booth or use the account management tab to check the results. Soul Wars passed, as did the rewards. The Shades of Morton rework passed, as did the rewards and making Split Bark craftable. I think the only failures were the Trouble Brewing requirements and the imbues to the LMS store. Well, next, exclamation mark wallpaper for some awesome desktop backgrounds featuring the great Trailblazer art styles. Exclamation mark leagues. So by now, I'm sure you've already seen the gameplay trailer, but if you haven't, do that command, watch the trailer, and then we'll probably tell you to do it again next week. And exclamation mark Gazette. So recently we published September Gazette. We talk roadmaps, leagues, a new JMod, updates and active projects, all the usual good stuff. October's Gazette and the leadership livestream will be coming on October 29th, so one day after the league's release. So if you can tear yourself away from leagues, read that blog and watch the livestream too. Okay, that is it for announcements. Weird format for this stream. Tell you what, this is the order I'm going to be answering questions in. Husky first, then Elena, then Flippy, then Kieran. So, Mod Husky, how are you doing?
I'm fantastic. Tomorrow's a big day for me because I'm going to be a homeowner. So I'm taking a couple days off work tomorrow and Monday, and yeah, getting excited about that. And Beyonce also put down a deposit for a German Shepherd puppy, so I've got that to look forward to in 7 weeks when he's old enough. So, exciting news.
Whoa.
Pog. So you're going to change your JMod name to Mod German Shepherd?
We'll see.
Favoritism.
Well, congrats, Mod Husky. Mod Elena, how are you doing? Can you beat that?
No, I can't. I wish I had a dog, but I don't, and I'm not allowed pets where I live, so that's a bit sad. But other than that, I'm doing great. Almost done with my Halloween project. That's coming out soon, so I'm very excited about that.
Sweet. Mod Flippy, how's things with you?
Very well, thank you. Leagues is coming out in less than 2 weeks now, so it's hard not to be excited. Kind of wake up every day, look at my phone and I see some notifications from work and I'm like, hell yes, let's go.
Wow, I don't see notifications from work and I don't have that feeling. Maybe I've been here too long. Mod Kieran, how are things in the life of Mod Kieran?
Things in the life of Mod Kieran are stellar. I'm also really hyped about whatever it's called, Trailblazer League. That is going to be so good. It's genuinely looking so exciting. Never mind Trailblazer. I mean, I've seen other stuff that's going on in the team and it just looks astounding. Like, oh my god, there's some assets going around like for what some of the fishing skill boss stuff might look like, and it's like, oh my god, that looks amazing. The settings rework that's in progress, and oh my god, some of that just, it looks so sick. Playing with how like details on the settings appear in the UI, and it's like the UI looks amazing. Like, there's just lots of cool things happening, and I mean, I'm not quite at the place where I'm moving into a new house yet, but I have had an offer accepted on a new house, so that is step one of a lot of steps to come, but it is also really exciting. So
it feels like everyone bought a house now this and last year.
That's why we just did the POH update, innit? So
Yeah. Well, I thought Jagex paid peanuts, so how are you guys doing this?
I mean, if you save up enough peanuts, you can still buy a house.
Yeah.
You gotta become a content developer.
Okay, chat questions from last week. Let's run through those very quickly. Let me slap Mod Tide. First question we've got is from Dog of War. Can you Twitch chat poll with 3 starting relics? Of course we can. We'll do that now. Next question from EV Mister. In the regular game, will Partner Slayer task come back? Well, Kieran, I'm going to look at you for this answer.
I can't say no, but I also can't say yes. I don't know, is the honest answer. If there's demand for it, I don't see why not. In the future, we should be able to do the system far better than it was in the past, into a way that it actually like stores your partner and things like that. So we could do it better, but it isn't necessarily a cheap feature to go and recreate with a proper system in place. So can't promise it, but yeah, if people want it.
Cool. Okay, next question. I'm coming to you, Mod Husky, for this answer. Quackhead asked, would the Iban staff be an elf or a Kandarin unlock in leagues?
Technically both. The staff is obtained through elf, but you need Kandarin to recharge it. So you get like no charges with elf, so you can use it a little bit.
Okay, so both. Right, Mod Flippy comes in the next one. Crudder asks, yo guys, can we PK in leagues in the wilderness, and will there be any perks to killing anyone?
Yes, of course you can PK in the wilderness. You can fight for territory. You can assert dominance. You don't really get any tasks or anything for PKing, but yeah, mostly to kick people out of your spots, I guess.
Cool. Meaningless Quips asks, do pest control points get multiplied at all? What about the skill rewards?
They don't. It was a hard choice. If we make it get a lot more points, we need to make the tasks easier. So instead, we just balance the difficulty around the time we know it takes to get them. So yeah, that was a hard one to sort of get right, but it won't be multiplied is the answer.
Cool. Brett Dog 59 asks, will we ever see a Twisted League again? So Locked Isaiah, with some updated relics perhaps.
Probably at some point in the future, I'd imagine. Maybe not now, the directly upcoming ones, but I'd like to think we can do something similar. Maybe after Mod West have had a look at Seiya again.
Sweet.
What I'd love to do is do like separate throwback leagues every now and then alongside the new main one. So obviously, like Leagues 1 is Twisted, Leagues 2 is Trailblazer, Leagues 3 will be something else. But there's nothing to say we couldn't do like a throwback league series somewhere else as well, where we do like a new version of Twisted with some changes to bring back the experiences that people have certainly enjoyed, right? The way I look at it is like, we made something awesome with Twisted. Hope equally that Trailblazer is loved as well. It's like, that shouldn't be gone forever, because you almost certainly have a lot of people who want to play or missed out the first time. So I'd love to do something like that.
We're also saving everything we do now for each league, so it's easy for us to look at any league we do and just toggle it on or off essentially.
Would be really cool to have like the 10th league or something be the most popular one out of the previous ones.
That could be cool.
That's one of the fun things. You change, I think, one variable and 90% of Trailblazer League turns back to Twisted. Like, we've missed a few things, but that is such a cool system we've developed, which is pretty awesome.
Okay, we'll move on. Indie Savvy asks, when can we expect to find out the exact end date of Trailblazer?
Not the end date being now, but you'll find out now. The league will run until the 6th of January. We contemplated whether or not we wanted to end it on exactly 2 months, but realistically that's Christmas, and none of us really want to be in on Christmas to do the whole shutting down of the leagues and making sure rewards get handed out right and all this sort of stuff. So we're going to delay it till just after the festive period. So 6th of January, you have just over 2 months. I think that makes it.
And I want to play leagues instead of spending time with my family, so I'm glad I get to do that. Also, it finishes the day after my birthday, so that's nice. Okay, next question. David J asks, could there be an hours played added to the high scores for leagues so you can compare progress with friends in contrast to time played?
I think that stuff would be cool. It's not on me to make a decision of whether we do that, though. That's a completely different team. And we don't currently have time played as a variable. It's just an engine command that we use to return it. So I guess we'd have to turn it into a variable if we wanted to transmit that, but then it would be its own high score, which would be weird and clunky. It'd be nice if that was a cool addition, though, right? But, like, was an extra.
Cool. So that, I mean, a bit of context to the players. We can say that sounds cool, but it's not my decision. What that means is that's the type of thing we can add to planning for the next league, and then we can refine it and maybe add it to the backlog. Proceed or not proceed, that kind of stuff. Okay, so next question. Mr. Waltonius asks, regarding the first relics, will you be able to boost above the plus 12 boost with stews to make them plus 17, or will plus 12 be the cap?
So no and yes. You can't stack boosts with this relic. It's the highest boost that you have that will take effect. So unless you find a plus 13 or 14 boost in the game, then you're never going to be able to surpass Skilling Prodigy.
Cool. And that might be a good opportunity to go through the Twitch poll results. Very different to the Twitter poll results we saw the other day. Skilling Prodigy seems to be the far and away favourite. So what do Twitch chat doesn't?
This is super interesting because Flippy and I just yesterday were talking about should we do a small nerf to Endless Harvest, and we decided we wouldn't. This is interesting. I think Twitch chat may be on the nose here. I think Skilling Prodigy is probably statistically the strongest one if you know how to use it and if your strategy reflects it. It's so hard.
I only voted Skilling Prodigy because everybody else did. That's good enough. That's fine. High poll results. Maybe we should do that next time. Next question from Perido Thomas. Are Slayer Masters going to assign tasks outside of the chosen areas?
If this means monsters outside of your areas, then no. Everything you get as a task will be like accessible for you, depending on which areas you pick. So if you pick the desert as a first one, Kappa, then you'll only get monsters within like Misthalin, Karamja, and desert.
Cool. Next question. Since there's no Nightmare Zone, will there be any way to imbue rings?
Yes, you can. When you talk to Dominic Onion, he mentions it to you that you can buy Nightmare Zone points for him for 1 GP each. So if you want to imbue your Slayer Helm, which I think is 1.25 million points, you need to give him 1.25 million gold, and then he'll give you the points and you can do the imbue. It's non-refundable though, so don't accidentally give him 10 million gold or something if you're not planning to spend the points.
Should we add a warning to that, just in case? Or are we just going to say, tough luck, suck it up?
There might be a warning. I might want to double check that. But
okay.
Yeah. I think it comes up with a confirmation as opposed to a warning, but yeah.
Okay, confirmation works, that's enough. That gives us enough to sit back and say, unlucky. Stocky Boy Jones asks, if we identify potential oversights in diary unlocks for leagues, is there a way we should submit them to you?
Yeah, so we've been collecting a bunch of information from that so far. The League's Discord that I linked last week on the stream has been great for that. But we've been looking on socials, whether that's just tagging us on Twitter or tagging us on Reddit and stuff. I think we've got most of them, or if not all of them. I'm fairly confident that the hive mind has been able to pick up on everything that we might have missed. So, yeah.
Yeah, and actually, we should say a big shout out to the League's Discord as well. They've been helping us a bunch throughout development, like identifying really obscure bottlenecks and minor details we've forgotten, and everyone on Twitter, to be honest, not only the Discord. It's been really helpful.
I've seen people ask about the Discord. Okay, what we should do after this is see if we can pair up with the Discord a little bit more officially, distribute that kind of link in our comms and stuff, because they seem to be a very useful resource for us, and there's a lot of interest in joining it. So we'll take that offline. Next question we've got is from Mick Varus. Kieran, I'm going to come to you for this one, I think. Enjoy. Could you make a community translation project for the game?
So, doing translated versions of Old School RuneScape, I think, is something we'd love to do in future. Mike's talked about the desires to do that. It's something that could get this game that everyone loves in the hands of more people. There's certainly countries around the world which are not really familiar with old school, but if it's translated into their language, certainly could be more interesting. I think we all know RuneScape's got translated into some languages, but the way it works, I don't think is super conducive either. Like, you've got to switch the language in the client, reboot, and you can only go on certain worlds. I think there's benefits to that in that you know all the players playing in German are on the same server. Wonderful, but I also love it to be a setting that you could just flick in the settings, and so you update all the language across the game, so you can play in the same world as everybody else. So it's something you want to do in the future, but it's a big tech project in terms of doing translation at all. Community translation, I don't know, but I love the idea of it. It's very true to old school in having players at the core of what we do. I'd expect we'll probably be actually doing that translation ourselves for any key markets that we would want to localize the game into, but maybe beyond that, maybe it's something we can talk about though, because I think it'd be cool.
I think as a business, we probably need the official localization onboarded just to protect ourselves from anything we do with the game. So whilst it's an awesome idea, it might be good to kind of mock up stuff or community help us support localized projects. I think in-house localization like we do have for RS3 is probably the way forward. Next question we've got from Andrew Tetris asking, is Soul Wars going to be free to play also? I've got an answer here. No, the minigame and the island will be only for members. Zephnon asks, Soul Wars cape being a +8 prayer bonus is great, but people are complaining because the Ardougne cloak, the elite Ardougne cloak has... Have I got the question wrong? No. Okay, basically, the elite Ardougne cloak was the best in slot prayer cape. Now the Soul Wars cape will be. Where do you stand on that?
So for me personally, I don't see an issue with that if the Soul Wars cape overtakes the Ardougne cloak in terms of prayer bonus, because the Ardougne cloak already has other bonuses that still makes it great, but it's locked behind larger requirements, right? So I think it's a fair trade-off. It doesn't have to be best in everything. It's currently best in stab, I believe. So I'm okay with Soul Wars cape being slightly better than prayer. But that's just personal opinion.
I am too. And it seems like the chat are also pointing out that it's best in slot stab. So it looks as though the community seem pretty happy with it. I mean, it passed the poll. It's being added to the game. Okay, next question we've got from Socks Boy. Are there any thoughts or plans for a Fairytale Part 3? The note I've got here is that Ed has a concept for it, and it's very different to the RuneScape 3 version. I guess we'll leave that answer as it is and keep you wondering.
The only thing I would add, though, obviously there's so many different quest series. It's like, you could say, do we do Fairytale 3? Do we do Elemental Workshop 3? Do we do the next quest in the Pirate series, the Dwarf series? There's so many we could look at that I'm interested in the community's view of the most popular quest series to work on, to be honest.
Well, if you ask those questions, should we do this quest and this quest and quest test? I think the answer will be yes, 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 and yes.
Yes to all of them. But if you can only have one in the near future, which one would it be? I guess is the real question, because we haven't got dev time. We haven't got infinite dev time to do them all. We might do them all eventually, but which one first? You know.
I think a little bit of that as well. A little bit of that comes down to what quests do the devs want to write for as well, a little bit, right? Because if someone could just have a really good desert treasure idea, right, for like a sequel to that, and that's just a great idea and go forward. But if it's like, we need a pirate line and nobody has a good idea, then maybe we shouldn't just do a pirate line, right? Because it kind of depends on that.
We need a good story we want to tell as well, naturally. Yeah. And also, it could be the case that it's possible that we can write such an amazing Elemental Workshop 3 quest that you'd end up rather having that than something else. But there's a lot of factors that go into that. But yeah, how many quests are we at now?
146.
146, something like that.
146. I might be mistaken.
Not far off a big milestone.
Let me wiki it.
I thought it was 148, but I could be wrong. Oh, it is 146. You're right.
I mean, obviously we're really close to the milestone of 150 as well, and internally we're knocking around some really cool ideas. As 150, we should probably go big and go hard for that. And I think we haven't really planned 2021 yet. We've got loads of ideas, and we've got a much bigger team, so we've got a general idea of how many projects and what size we can do next year. I think we'd like to hit that 150 next year. So that gives some insight into how many quests could come in the game next year. Let's move on. Sir Sardude asks, Among Us minigame in old school RuneScape when?
I would love that. Among Us is a lot of fun, and I love watching people play it as well. It's such a great game, and it's quite simple, right? In the way it's made, at least. So it wouldn't be impossible for us to do, some sort of minigame out of it. Obviously, we would have to RuneScape it up with knights and wizards and all that stuff. Would be cool though. I'd love to do it.
And navigate the legal issues. I've never played it.
True.
I'll be honest. But everyone seems to be enjoying themselves, so I'm glad. Next question.
Just go to Pyro and Plunder and find the bot, and they're the imposter.
True.
It's the budget version. Nice.
Okay, we've got 2 more chat questions from last week, and then we'll crack on with some league stuff. Pure Ghost 99 asks, will the new Rev Caves be in leagues?
Yeah, so generally with leagues, you can just... all of the updates that come to the main game will also hit during leagues, unless we make an exception for it. So the leagues world follow the exact same logic as the normal world, so naturally stuff like this will also come into leagues. All we can do is to, prepare for what is coming exactly and see that, well, if this is going to heavily affect one area midway, then can we do something to help it during the league? Otherwise, we will let smaller stuff just go through. So that's about it.
Yeah. I have the statement here from the interface, which I actually just wrote up today, was any Poll 73 changes not implemented before Leagues 2 Trailblazer starts will come out over the following weeks and will be available on League Worlds and main games simultaneously. Any other new content released during Leagues 2 Trailblazer will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis, which we've had a bit of a look ahead, as Philip said. So it's difficult, right? Like, an example would be like the Shades of Morton armors, right? Right, we could just make sure that if the mini game comes out towards the end of the league, it just doesn't drop its uniques, right? Potentially.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess there's only so far you can go without not allowing feature content to affect it mid-league, but it's part and parcel of it. The game updates over time to some degree. Does that mean Halloween is in league?
I don't see a reason to stop it.
No, I don't think we've talked much about it, but I'd assume it's coming to leagues, just like the main game.
Husky and I were talking about it yesterday, and if Halloween is included, that would most probably mean that Christmas as well would be included in the league.
Right, yeah.
So that's new.
Maybe there's a reason to make sure the Christmas is on Cramjar Misthalin then, so everybody gets to experience Christmas.
Tropical Christmas.
Christmas event in the wilderness.
Monka.
And you could make it. You could if you did the Christmas event in the wilderness, you could make the whole thing a pun on sleigh.
No, not like this.
I'll do that, and then on to the next question. Lots of people have been asking, when is the Halloween event coming?
Well, I'm very happy to say that it's coming out already next week on the 21st. So that's Wednesday next week. Super hyped about that. It'll be great.
It's so good.
What's it's
really good.
Some stuff to tease. You have some music and a video and a pumpkin reward to show. We didn't really sort out any order in which to show stuff, so feel free to put stuff on the screen and play music and whatnot, and we'll talk to it.
Yeah, so I'll just talk over this then, if you want. So this person you see right here is his name is Rick, and as you can see, he has lost his head. In the event, the first time you meet him, you'll find that he actually has a pumpkin on his head instead, and he needs your help just getting his head back in place. So yeah, that's the journey you will have to go on. First you need to find his head, and then you need to get it back where it belongs. Very spooky.
Modsphere, are we playing the music we've got as well? We can't hit it. We can't. Cool. Okay.
It is playing?
Oh, now we can hear it.
Heard it for 2 seconds.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got a new music track coming out with it, which will be awesome to add to the Halloween musics, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Oh, there it is.
This was by Ash, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Ash took it upon himself to make a spookier version of our beloved sea shanty too. It's called C minor shanty. And it will be unlocked during the event, so make sure to play. There's also one other song actually, one other music track being released with the event. No, that's alright.
Cool. Do you want to show me Pumpkin Award as well? Please, Modsphere?
Right.
Like, I think this is the sort of thing you don't expect this any remake of Sea Shanty 2 to even be able to stand up against the original. Yeah, somehow I just pulled it out of the bag. It's absolutely amazing.
That's really good.
And this is something that Modsphere will show you off.
Yes. So the graphics team has pulled together one of the rewards for this year's event. This is the magical pumpkin that you can plant in your garden, in your POH, either your crude garden or the formal garden. And obviously you have to be a member to have a house, but there will be one other reward as well that is accessible to everyone, and you will see that once you complete the event.
Does the event have a name? Because I still have a very soft spot for the Chambers of Eric from, I think, 2018.
That is such a great name. I don't think I came up with one particular name. I would call it All Hallows Eve, if anything.
Okay, that's the name then. It's your event, your name. And then this is a rendition from a player. I think, and if you're in the chat and you hear me pronounce this wrong, I apologize. Suval Art has done their own rendition of the reward we just shown. I think this looks awesome. Definitely deserving of a Golden Gnome nomination. If only it happened months earlier.
I absolutely love this one. I am actually using it as my background picture on my desktop at the moment. It's amazing.
Would you accept a suite from this creature?
Why not?
Just, I'd encourage players to keep an eye out during this. I think there's a lot of small details in this event that are just awesome and going to make Gielinor feel very much like it's celebrating Halloween. So, I think good job on that, Elena.
Thanks. Yeah, there's a couple of Easter eggs.
Welcome back here.
Hi, Kieran.
The stream was originally just going to be. I wasn't originally going to be on the Q&A, and so it got converted to quickly have 5 cameras rather than 4. But that scene wasn't changed, so I was temporarily invisible. But Halloween looks amazing. C minor shanty sounds so good. I can't wait for that to be in the game. You know what it reminds me of? You know when you're on holiday in Europe and you go on the local underground train, and it never happens really in this country, but then some musician gets on and starts playing for the train. That's exactly what it makes me think of.
A busker in the metro, you mean?
Yeah.
All right, we've got quite a lot of questions to go through. Next up, we've got some league stuff. Let's work through this pretty quickly. Well, Husky, come to you for the first one. Hori asks, will you need to unlock the desert and complete Tourist Trap in Trailblazer in order to make darts? Or will we be able to make darts without needing to complete Tourist Trap?
Yes and no. You need Tourist Trap in order to smith the darts, but you can still fletch them. So if there's any way you can get dart tips, you feel free to do that. But yes, we are locking the ability to smith them behind Desert. Desert doesn't have a lot going for it. And Blowpipe on this league is pretty good because, no surprise, Blowpipe's pretty good in the main game, and when you make it better through relics, it's really good. So we think it's worthy of having like a 2-area unlock for that thing, and that'll be interesting to see how many people opt for it. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, next question. No one's put a name next to it, but there are 2 curses hovering. I'm just going to say it out loud, and I hope one person answers. Man Durable asks, will the mage training arena points in Trailblazer be boosted at all? Leagues is meant to be faster paced than the regular game. MTA may be a big turn off to players choosing the desert as it's quite slow and boring.
Sure. So right now we have it so that it doesn't, and I believe that's what we're going to go with. It's hard to know whether that's the right decision. It's kind of what I spoke about with like pest control earlier. If we make something, say an elite task, we expect it to take maybe X amount of time or be X difficulty or whatever, right? And we've based all that off the main game. If we make it 4 times faster, is it still an elite task? So do we make it 4 times faster and reduce it to hard? And then that gets weird, right? So ultimately we've elected to leave it as is, and that could be the wrong call, and we'll just have to wait and see, right?
I think
ultimately you don't really know, right, what the right thing to do is.
Like, I think what you said last now is actually, you know, a valid strategy we should consider in future leagues. If there are mini games or, you know, other activities other than like combat and skilling, such as MTA or pest control or maybe in the future Soul Wars, whatever, that we have tasks for and stuff, we might want to just, you know, either decrease the points needed or just make it a simpler task where you get more points. I think like the logic we've used for leagues in general with like, you know, everyone has endless run, we boost this, we boost that, we make this faster, we skip this boring element. I think that should also go for minigames to a certain degree. So it's definitely something I think we should consider in the future.
I agree with you. I think like we accelerate most of the game, right? Accelerating other bits as well is good, because for me, at least when I think of playing leagues, I don't think of the grind anywhere near as much as you would the main game, and so accelerating the grindy elements and focusing on, well, you're still gonna have grind, right? You're still gonna grind skills up. You're still gonna grind for drops. It's just, it's nowhere near as long as it would normally be. So I think accelerating mini games and stuff also makes sense. But yeah, I think those considerations to task tier and whatnot still definitely need to apply. And it's a balancing act. Naturally, it's also going to mean we need to go into different mini games, pick appropriate acceleration rates and things like that. It's not as easy as changing XP globally, for instance.
Yeah, it just shouldn't break the game pace, you know, like if you go do a few Slayer tasks and then you go skill for an hour, you shouldn't be stuck at like a minigame for 6 hours. Like it should kind of follow the same pace as the rest.
I think when we discussed this, because we did discuss this like 6 weeks ago maybe, right, earlier on, Flippy, and the verdict we came to is we'd happily do this for MTA, but if we did it for one, we should probably do it for all, and we weren't comfortable doing it for all and adjusting all task difficulties accordingly, right? So is the reason we're only doing it for MTA because Desert feels slightly underwhelming? Maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
And we want to tie it to the drop rate modifier anyway, which maybe it's not a drop rate modifier, it's a gameplay acceleration modifier. I don't know. It's something we're going to review how it goes for this league and potentially fix for the next one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it goes for each league. We're going to have some global changes that we're just making better for the league's experience each time as well. So it's going to have these teething problems as we're working out the best way to tackle certain aspects of it. But I mean, as far as I'm concerned, if it gets better every time, that's wonderful.
Right, let's summarise and move on. So MTA isn't being changed this league, but in future will be We'll discuss and we'll consider changes to mini games as we would XP rates and drop rates elsewhere as well. Cool. Waits for N1 asks, Fremmy Exiles quest is locked by Mountain Daughter, which requires going to Asgarnia. Can this be given to us to allow Exiles completion within the Fremmy region alone?
Yeah, so this is a great example of, like, I look at Mountain Daughter and I'm fairly sure that's done in Fremmy, but there's so many quests. Like, do you have time to look into them all? And as far as I was aware this was possible, it turns out it wasn't. So this is what I mean by you guys, the players, have pointed this out, and we've already fixed that. It's been added to Fremmy as an unlock, so that Fremmy Exiles will be doable. And I think, is it tomorrow, Sween? Or is it going to be next week that the players get an update of essentially a change list to the areas we've done so far? We've got a huge list of things we missed and have changed and added over the last week and a bit or so. And
we'll get out tomorrow.
We do want to put that out to you guys.
I'll polish that tonight and then we'll publish it tomorrow, probably tomorrow afternoon. Okay, next question is from the same person, similar type of question. The mining helmet requires Lost Tribe to unlock it, but it's also needed for Lumbridge diaries. Will we get that task? I think that's meant to read. Will we get the task or Lost Tribe unlocked to solve Bone Crossbow and Dorg Mine being locked by Asgarnia?
Is mining helmet needed for the diaries? That's news to me, and if we missed that, we'll probably auto-complete that task. We don't have any plans right now to give Lost Tribe to Misthalin, so Bone Crossbow will be locked behind Asgarnia. I didn't know the mining helmet was a task. I'm going to look it up right now.
Yeah, it's a hard task to light your mining helmet in the Lumbridge Castle basement. 65 fire making hard tier.
Well, that is one that we'll need to add as well, right?
I will highlight that one a different colour for y'all. Okay, next question. Same person again. Maybe he's called it out again. Has the team done anything for handling post-quest completion XP rewards that require NPC dialogue? An example is the combat XP given post a Monkey Madness 1. Though the player does note that a Monkey Madness 2 auto would fix that specific point.
Yeah, all three of those quests you can't do it. Monkey Madness 1, Monkey Madness 2, and Dragon Slayer 2. We've covered those. You can't get that post-quest completion XP.
Cool. Tom Lockett asks, will bosses that are normally locked behind quests be accessible in Trailblazer without meeting quest requirements? For example, can we take on Zalcano without 70 mining if we unlock Tirannwn?
Oh, you'll still need the normal requirements to do things. And I have no idea if Zalcano is the base stat or the boosted stat. It's probably base, considering the quest had a 70 mining requirement. But yeah, you'll still need to train your skills.
Cool. Okay, next question. What's the verdict on God Wars instances? You've mentioned discussions for the past 2 weeks.
So I could give you guys an answer to that now. We've been talking about this for a while, and we've known what we wanted to do, but we didn't want to do or say anything until we were sure the work was going to meet the deadline, right? Because we know League's got a release date, and we want to make sure. As of right now, we have 4 jobs that are sort of awaiting the QA work to instance 4 specific places that we felt like we could meet them. So that is all of the God Wars dungeon rooms. That is Dagannoth Kings, Calphite Queen, and Mole. Mole was kind of like a, we'll do it if we have time kind of thing, but it turned out it was a relatively quick job. This is only going to be available on League Worlds, and is just kind of there to help with that sort of bottlenecking situation. We acknowledge that this isn't a perfect situation. We spoke about things like wildy bosses, and we're like, well, we can't really instance them, right? They're open world. And we discussed things like 80% of the damage potentially as like as a method, but it just felt like, okay, I'll just pay for a tank, right? And we didn't want to encourage any kind of that meta as well. Wildy is kind of already a free for all anyway, so that the boss is sort of being raggable almost fits that in a way. And then most other bosses from what we looked at were already instanced. I can't think of any off the top of my head that were desperate for it. Like Thermi, like I don't mind saying this now, we don't generally have a lot of tasks for Thermi already, so we didn't see it as a high priority. And that's still locked between a high Slayer level and like, you know, getting a task and all these other stuff, right? So the other ones just felt higher on the list to get right. That's what we plan to do. It's a fairly sizable buff to Asgarnia for Mole and God Wars, obviously Fremmy for DKs, and what was the other one? Desert for KQ. but we've just done what we can for this. So yeah, only on leagues. But naturally, a good dev makes sure to code things that are reusable. It would be fairly straightforward to turn these on to the main game if we ever wanted to attach it to a reward for something. But we would never do so lightly, right? We've already mentioned that God Wars instances could be quite catastrophic for the item prices. So yeah, it's quite exciting.
Cool. Okay, next question. Can we get Iban's staff from Kandarin or Tirannwn? Which is it?
I think I mentioned this earlier, and I actually got it wrong technically. So you get the staff from Tirannwn, you can recharge it in Tirannwn, but you need Kandarin to imbue it. So it'll be very nichely used in Tirannwn by itself. Maybe you'll use it for like just your Zulrah kills and go back and recharge it. I don't know what metas people have, but yeah.
Cool. Next question. What is the verdict on Mahogany homes in leagues? You've mentioned discussions again for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, so we've had those discussions, and we originally wanted to fit that in, but unfortunately we're going to have to not allow it or disable it for this league. It ultimately came down to like prioritizing what features to fit in. This was a pretty big job in making sure that you could only get contracts in the areas you have unlocked and so forth. So yeah, we just took a decision to prioritize some more important stuff like instances and playtesting, bug fixing, and pretty crucial stuff.
Cool. Okay, next question. Could you consider making hands or somebody else the max cape distributor so the cape is available for everybody and you don't have to choose that region?
Well, we had this discussion last league as well regarding skill capes. I think last league perhaps we could have done something like that. This time around, I feel like those are almost items tied to the areas. Like they are accessible in this league. People can get max cape and people can get skill cape. So I don't really see a strong reason to just give that to everyone. I had some idea floating around regarding maybe in the future making like a cosmetic leagues max cape or something like that people could purchase that does nothing except show off the fact that you're max. Don't know how anyone else feels about that, like inside League Worlds, not in the main game. But yeah.
I mean, why would the max guild is in Asgarnia, right? So it makes sense to capes there.
Yep. Why are you laughing?
The crafting guild, Elena.
Yeah.
Lol.
He's referring to a comment I had quite recently where I was slightly annoyed that the crafting guild has basically become the max guild because that's where all the max people go because of the quick teleport there with the crafting guild teleport.
I know we're talking about max capes here, and it's a pretty extreme example. One thing I loved about Twisted League was the outfits, right? Like everyone's wearing different sorts of gear because they're limited in what they can get. This is more of obviously, you gotta get max before you can even get it, and the same with skill capes. You gotta at least get a 99. But I still just love the fact it forces more variety. So,
yep.
Okay, we'll move on. Newbie Killer asks, for the Endless Harvest relic, how does this work with the Motherlode Mine? Pay dirt can't be banked. Will it just not work here?
It still works. It just doesn't bank the pay dirt, so you get double the amount, but it doesn't auto bank it for you.
it should auto sack it.
No.
Life-changing Motherlode Mine
No.
experience.
Nope.
If we do that, we'll be asked to do it in the main game, and I guarantee that'll pass, and then yeah. Okay, next question. Have there been any notable changes to leagues since we've been playtesting?
Lots of small changes. There hasn't really been any big content changes. We've changed the thresholds for when you unlock relics and the areas. So we've kind of like moved them here and there and just tried them out to see how it feels like. Then there's been a lot of smaller task changes, shifting tiers and also tweaking just values, catching 50 of this fish instead of 100 and so forth. But generally no huge content changes. But yeah, of course, it's very different when you sit down and you actually play the content compared to when you work and design content through spreadsheets and stuff. Because when me and Husky were sitting with all the tables and sheets, we were just kind of looking at tasks and we were like, well, this feels like this. And if we compare this task to this task, then it should probably be a medium. But then when you're actually in game and you're trying stuff, you're put in the player's shoes and you're like, well, I'm not going to do that task because I just can't be bothered, you know? And you get a whole different perspective. So it's been super valuable.
What I will say is Maud, Arcane, Elena, and myself were doing Theatre of Blood this week with relics, which was a lot of fun. And we actually drastically changed some of, not drastically, but like tweaked the numbers quite a lot on the tier 3 and made a quite big change to tier 6, which is the PBM focused relics. I'll leave you guys with this kind of teaser. What if you didn't have to use melee in TOB?
That was for sure a lot of fun doing that, playtesting and balancing there. I think it's very important as well that we got to do it. So I'm glad we did.
I think we did one run with 2 of us predominantly maging and 1 with range, and it was still fairly nice, you know? Relics are fun, guys.
They are.
Relics.
Right. We've already
Also,
hanging on. Let's move on, shall we?
all right. Yeah.
So here are some non-leagues miscellaneous questions we've gathered. Elena, I'm coming to you for the first one. Sack Kings asks, can a stepping stone shortcut across the river be added to the Hosidius Lancalliums teleport spot?
So short answer, yes, it can. Longer answer, should we? I can't think of anything that would like break if we did, any metas that would change or anything like that. I'm thinking maybe for construction contracts it would be slightly faster to get to one of the Hosidius ones. But also recharging your memoirs would take a while. So I'm down for polling it if people would like.
Sounds good. People in the chat saying it could be a buff to Mahogany Homes, but we can consider that kind of stuff when we go offline and investigate a bit further. Next question from Aiden Mate asked, will we get a bot busting stream to introduce the new head of the anti-cheating team? I don't mind taking this one. So there's not a new head of anti-cheating team. I think they refer to how we introduced the new anti-cheating specialist in last month's Gazette. We're also going to be introducing more anti-cheat specialists who focus most of their time on old school in the coming days, adding them to the Game Update news post and then the next month's Gazette as well. And in terms of a bot busting stream, that can happen anyway. I'd love to do it again. We don't have a date in mind. I will don the bald cap and beard. You know what I've been thinking actually? Game Blast next year, if we do it, if we reach a stupid amount of money, I will shave off this hair and leave the beard and do a bot busting stream like that. I will shave it on a bot busting stream. I don't know how much money we need. It has to be a lot. But I think that's what I'm going towards at the moment.
We hit the 50 quid goal.
I'm talking a lot of money, but maybe.
Now that's incentive.
Anyway, next question. Simity asks, concerning the Poled Shades rework, it was never specified if Fire Shades would now only require U-logs as the new tier of Shades. Okay, let me add a comma or something. Let me say it again and add some comments that don't exist. It was never specified if Fire Shades would now only require U-logs, as the new tier of Shades would mean it would require Magic or Redwood. Will the new Shades require Magic, Redwood, and Fire's now U and Magic? I believe...
My head, I'm afraid my head still hurts. I'm trying to work it out.
That's what I copy pasted.
Fire Shades are... I need to look up the OSRS wiki.
They're the current highest tier, aren't they?
Yeah, it makes sense.
I think so, yes.
If Fire requires Magic, we'll probably make Redwood Paralogs. That's how I think I would do it, but I don't know what the intention is of the person designing it. that would just make sense to me. We'd have redwood pyralogs.
Yeah,
Any shades?
That makes
redwood
sense.
pyralogs will absolutely be in use. I can't
That's the only-
remember exactly what was decided, but yeah,
There will be-
I don't think we'll reduce it for the other one. I mean, if they work on the other if they work on that shade already, they'll carry on working on that shade. The requirements for the new one will probably be harder though.
Okay, we'll seek more clarification on that, and when that. I mean, it passed the poll, but when it's added to the game, we'll make sure it's in the update post anyway. Next question. Once you use the Observatory Grapple shortcut for the first time, the rope stays forever, so you don't need to bring a crossbow and grapple in the future. Could this be done with all the other grapple shortcuts in the game, since they're pretty much dead content right now?
I
I
would
don't know
love
about
that.
all of them, but some of them, right? Like you have the one in God War's Dungeon. I would not include that one. The one to get to Armadill's Eyrie. The one by Lumbridge Swamp between there and Alcarid, though, I would like to see that. That is Grapple, isn't it? I believe so. And there's one by Catherby, I'm pretty sure as well. So for those places, I'd be down.
They just don't get used, right? Because
Yeah.
whenever you need to go across there, you're not just. It's just inconvenient if you haven't got it. So, yeah, I think that's a cool change.
Would make sense. As long as you have it like the first time and place it down.
Cool. Okay. Next question is from Supun. When will the skilling guilds be revamped? Cooking, ranging, and legends are all good examples of dead guild content.
So we had an ideation month, well, ideation days, one of the past months where we were focusing on guilds. And without spoiling too much, I can say that some of the older guilds are being shown some love, and I don't want to confirm anything, but it's being looked at.
I've seen tons of guild rework proposals from the team and from the community, and the team have taken some community's ideas as well. I think it's just about when is the right time to offer them. I know we received a lot, and we were toying with adding some guild stuff to the minigame poll we did, but we felt as though that'd be diluting minigames and guilds too much, so we should make sure we've got a dedicated guild poll when that happens. I know we've got, well, the big 2021 list of stuff that could happen has that on there.
Speaking of guilds, by the way, I've thought this for a while, and I've just never really got around to thinking about it more. But the woodcutting guild gives you this +7 invisible boost, right, to woodcutting, so you can cut redwood faster than you would be able to outside. Now, the only redwoods are in there, except the new one we added with the farming guild. Now, I love the idea of people chopping the one in the farming guild if they've grown it themselves. But they lack the +7 boost, so there's no incentive to do so. I would love to make redwood just sort of an exception to that, so it just works, and you get the same chance of getting logs in the farming guild as you do in the woodcutting guild, because it's cool that you can grow your own and then cut it there, rather than having to cut the one in the over in the whatever it's called, the woodcutting guild. And I know that's just nice, because the +7 boost really wasn't really intended to be a redwood feature, because there's not really an option. It makes sense for the magic logs and the yew trees and all that. So yeah, just throwing an idea out there while the guild topic came up and reminded me of it.
That could be saved for the guild poll when we do one. Next question. Could the Legends Cape be rebuffed to make it more relevant?
So to me, the Legends Cape is kind of like a touchy subject because that's one of the really old items, and to me personally, that's really nostalgic. I feel like its use today is mainly fashionscape though. It looks sick, right? It's one of those classic, really good looks, and I'm not a fan of changing old content too much like that. I would rather introduce something new, cool. Maybe some upgrade to the Legends Cape instead of just fixing it with buffing it for no apparent reason.
So I think
Yeah,
the reason why
there's
question is because similar to how you feel like the Legends Cape is really, really iconic. Players feel the same way, but they have the opposite opinion, which is because it's so iconic, maybe it should stay relevant. I agree with you, though, personally. If you look at the requirements for Legends Quest, even though it was that iconic quest that lots of us remember in our like early teens working toward, the requirements are in the mid-50s. It's not really a best-in-slot deserving cape, and I think it's fine to stay that way, but it does look awesome.
It's the sort of thing when Legends Quest came out in Classic, it was super high requirements, and it probably warranted the word Legends. But I suppose nowadays it's more like, well done, you're a mediocre adventurer, you've reached the Legends Guild. Like, it's just the game's changed. Obviously, people are far past that now. People have much better stuff. So it's. But I agree. I don't think we should change it because just for the sake it's nostalgic and has those aspects. Because there's no easy way to even approach that without combining it with some other item and things like that. It's a rabbit hole I don't think we should get into.
Works for me. Right, it is 6 o'clock. We've been on stream for an hour-ish. Let's work through very quickly all the remaining questions. Mod Husky, come to you for this one. Can the Blood Fury be charged with either its components the same as Infernal Tools?
No, I think this would be a very bad move for the Blood Fury amulet. So right now, Blood Shards, it might have changed in the last few weeks. They're like 9 mil-ish. They could be slightly less. They could be slightly more. They're quite expensive for the cost, and that's kind of the point of that amulet. If you make it so you can charge it with Onyxes or Fury amulets or whatever, you would essentially make it so the Blood Shards would come down to like 3 mil-ish, and the Onyxes would rise, which would be great for the Onyx, right? But I think that would make a powerful amulet very cheap as a result of that, right? I think that it's good that the Blood Shard is a requirement for it because it just sort of, you've got that sort of supply and demand for that item, whereas Onyxes will never rise above 3 mil because they're tied to the Chaos Rune shop price. So I just don't think that would be a good idea for that amulet, for the power of its effect.
Okay, I think the motivation behind the question was the point you pointed out, was trying to elevate the price of a Fury to be a bit more in line with the Blood Shard. People in the chat saying the Blood Shard is now down to below 8 mil, like 7.9 mil. I don't know if that changes your answer at all, but if not, we will move on.
I think the only way to do it is if they ever cost the same, right? I wouldn't want to tank the Blood Shard's price down unnecessarily.
Okay, so next question is also about the Blood Fury. What are your thoughts on allowing the Blood Fury to have a toggle option on and off, similar to the Ring of Suffering?
There's no real reason why it can't have a toggle, but if you're wanting to toggle it off when you hit max HP, we'd probably make the toggle have some sort of chat box confirmation, right, similar to the Suffering, so that wouldn't be all that useful in combat. And if you want to change it quickly in combat, you could just equip a Torture, right? So you say I'm at full HP, I don't need the extra defense and healing, so I'll just take the extra damage. But for just general use, if people just wanted to have it and not accidentally use charges when they, like, I don't know, like attack a man or something like that, or well, maybe they attack the man when they're doing Mahogany Homes, fix the guy's house, kill the husband sort of thing. But there's no harm to it. I just think it wouldn't have any practical use in combat if that's what the question was coming.
Okay. Next question, again, about Blood Shards and Blood Furies. What are your thoughts on an ability to break the Blood Shards into untradeable blood fragments, allowing you to recharge the Blood Fury before it is completely depleted?
Personally, I'm kind of fond of that one, just because I hate being in the position of doing something and then all of a sudden my equipment breaks down because I didn't recharge it. And I also know that if it's already low, I don't want to go somewhere and risk that breaking in the middle of me doing something. So then I'm in a position of, should I go kill something else just to use up those few charges that are left so I can then get a new one? It's a very annoying problem. So if blood fragments would fix that, I'd be down. I'm keen to make them untradeable though, so that that's not another item to consider in the price of the Blood Fury.
I think fragments sound cool. I think you could also just go with letting you use another Blood Shard on it and double the charges, and maybe increase the cap so you can use a lot of shards on it at once. Which would mean if you are in that situation where you've got like 2 charges left, you can just stick another shard on it straight away. I think that works as well.
I just double checked. When I made the Blood Amulet, I made sure the variable for its charges went up to 32768 because I knew we'd get this question. So if we wanted to, we could allow you to put 2 more on it for the same. But we'd still make you using it to give 10,000, right? Like the original making. But it wouldn't be any more dev work other than us just fixing the script to allow it, right? As opposed to making a new variable at least. Which is nice.
Cool. Okay, we'll move on. Nerdlinger asks, if the Bloodbark Armor passes, which it has, are there any plans to add Soulbark recolor for it? Or maybe you guys have something more interesting in store. So I spoke to Mod West. He said it's good to leave room for improvement. Smiley emoji. I was mostly thinking of themes for the swamp area at the time, and nature and blood seem a lot more natural than Soul did. So that's a long-winded way of saying maybe. Could happen. Okay, Dan asks, currently the telekinetic room is the slowest at Mage Training Arena. Could the speed at which the NPC moves when telegrabbed be sped up, since there's little to no downtime when moving between spots?
We actually can do this easier now if it's an NPC. I don't know what that thing is, but because we now have the ability to control how fast an NPC moves, that is very possible. I'm not sure how much it would actually speed it up though, because it would matter on some puzzles. Because sometimes you still need to run round to the other side to get the other telegrab on it, and I think sometimes it wouldn't be any quicker. It would just get there quicker, and you've still got to run round to get to it.
Do you remember it was worse a few years ago? Remember when it used to freeze the player? Like, so when you're waiting for the NPC to move, you were frozen. You had to wait for the NPC to finish first. Like, it was even worse. It is slow and a bit painful. I wouldn't mind just pulling a straight up buff in this case, because I think it's not the end of the world at all.
I agree. I'd rather have to wait or have it be slower because I'm moving slow rather than having to wait for the game to be slow.
Cool. Okay, we'll move on to some chat questions we've got. And that will wrap up the stream. We'll be super quick. I am actually late for a call, and I'm being quite rude, so we'll rush through. Brad asks, are there plans to revisit Boss Slayer?
Right now, I don't think so. I mean, it's on the cards. Like, it's something we could potentially still revisit, but honestly, my view is the feedback was quite clear that we don't think it's right. It's certainly not right now. I mean, it's not to say in 5 years' time or even 2 years' time that it's the right thing to do, but yeah, I'd say for now, no intentions to.
Cool. Sorry, I was just admiring Mod Husky's companion.
He didn't appreciate I called him and not treats.
Okay, next question we've got is from Agent Trap. How did the team react to Soul Wars passing the poll? I imagine expectations drop through the floor when a poll starts. I wouldn't say the expectations drop through the floor. I don't think we have many expectations. You know, we blog stuff, and increasingly now we're talking to players before a blog as well. So we have a general idea if the content is popular, and you know, maybe I won't be believed here, but we don't have an agenda when it comes to polling content. If it fails, it fails. If it passes, cool, you want it. And I know people will point to things like the VLS, and we've got a lot of work to do there. I know we've made mistakes, but generally, we want the content that you want. Anybody else have anything to say on that question?
I'm not surprised so what's best, because we talked to the community throughout, and so I expected it too. We've certainly heard people shouting about it for years, but yeah, it's exciting. I'm excited to see that minigame come back, and I really hope it brings back a lot of nostalgia for people who played it back in the day.
Yeah, I'd be fairly disappointed if people spammed Soul Wars in our chat for 4 years and then they voted no to the poll.
Well, that's what we saw. We saw, you know, people were spamming Soul Wars for a long time. Bring it back when we bring it back, and then as soon as we offer it, we're seeing, why the hell are you doing this and you're not doing the other mini games that you could have done as well? So, you know, we've left room for them. It could happen in the future. Maybe we'll port those next if you want us to port those. We've asked you about that in a survey. There's a nice little Easter egg below the Ferox Enclave in the Wildy.
I would say is, I mean, one of the content devs is already playing with trying to port Stealing Creation as well. So like that has a lot more work involved to even get to a position where it's a launchable entity, even more so than Soul Wars, because the game is integrated with summoning and things like that. So there's a lot more to do. But at some point, I don't see why not. Certainly, if Soul Wars is popular, I'd love to be able to do Stealing Creation as well.
That's good to me. Okay, next question. Dark Dog asks, how will pets in the wilderness work during leagues? Will we lose them on PvP def and be able to reclaim them?
You'll never really lose your pets. They're what's it called? Insured automatically.
Cool. Don't Kill Spawn asks, will the Tome of Water and Swampbark's Armor binding spell enhancements stack? So I guess I don't even know about this one. We haven't polled the Tome of Water yet. I need to re-familiarise myself with whether or not it's remaining as it is, the effects and stuff. And then if we are, then I guess we need to decide whether or not they stack. So we don't know, but we'll I guess when we get to blogging and polling the Fishing Skill Boss, that's when we'll tell you. Because now we can, because the Swampbark passed and we know it's definitely added to the game. Okay, so Foe of the Fox asks, will Keldegrim beat Fremmy in leagues?
Yes.
Yes, it will. Cool. Red Zepper asks, is the Animal Magnetism quest going to be auto-completed in Mauritania, as we need Asgarnia to get the Blessed Axe from Toriel?
Misspoke last league. I thought it was you could do Ghost of Hoy and Mori, which you can't because you need Asgarnia. It'll be a Mori plus Asgarnia combo reward to get the Assembler, or you'll get the Accumulator. The other way around, Accumulator for the other one, and Assembler from Fremmy, because Fremmy does auto-complete that quest. So you'll still need to get the Vorkath head drop, but you can just go to Abba as soon as you unlock Fremmy and get one.
Cool. Okay. Redmond asks, are there plans to make other uses for Hespori Seeds? The Spirit Seed update was great, and I feel Hespori Seeds could use something similar, as most players have an infinite stack they can't seem to get rid of.
Just plant it.
Just plant it. Okay. I'm happy to leave it there if we
I don't know, honestly. It seems weird to kind of create a use for it. It feels... I don't know.
You can't use them fast enough, I think is the point.
Yeah, it was a joke.
Right, okay.
I agree with not creating a use for it just so it has the second use, but I'd rather introduce like a toggle so you don't have to get them anymore if you don't want them.
What about, I mean, this is literally just a new feature at this point, but you can plant more than one Hespori seed into the Hespori patch, and the more you put in, the tougher the boss is, but the more loot you get. Design on the fly, let's go! I like that. I'm hyped on that one.
I quite like it too, I'll be honest. I quite like it.
Yeah, I mean,
So what happens when
not
you
really
put
any... Yeah, go on.
What happens when you do put this infinite number of seeds that this player seems to have? I mean, I don't know what infinite scaling looks like.
It would need a cap. It would need a cap. Like, let's be honest. We're not putting 2.1 billion of them into that patch.
The new hardest boss in RuneScape is 1,000 Hespori Seeds.
I mean, it's not too bad. I kind of like that, actually.
Right,
They are, difficult to get in a sense. Like, you can't really grind Hespori Seeds, so... Other than Seaweed, maybe.
Okay, we're moving on, because I've already sent 3 apologies for my tardiness to this next meeting. Tony asks, will the League Graceful rewards be tradable? I'd like to AFK on my main and still play some leagues.
Yeah, the ornament kit will be tradable, your Graceful won't, and you're not just getting Graceful as part of the reward, right? You still need to get it yourself. It's a recolor.
Cool. Okay, Dalton BD asks, can we get a count of all the pets in game? I feel like it's been a long time since we had it. All the combat skilling and all others. I think the last time was in February with our birthday data stream. Our ADS team are pretty tied up. ADS is analytics and data science team. At the moment, they're pretty tied up in other projects, like RuneScape just released Steam, so they've got a lot of commitments there. Maybe we can aim to do something similar for our 8th birthday in February, so it'll be a year to the time since. But I do appreciate that there's a, obviously you want more regular updates than that. Okay, next question. Is the POH room for the league stuff coming out on release of leagues or after leagues ends?
After, I think, with all the reward stuff.
Sweet, and as we confirmed earlier, leagues will be ending on January 6th. If you missed that, Game of Ohms asks, for the quest Dwarf Cannon, once you've completed the quest, will you need to unlock another location to buy it, or will it be given to you upon completion?
No special treatment here. I believe you need both Kandarin and Asgarnia to get a cannon. So, if you want a cannon, unlock both those areas.
Sweet. Okay, can something be done about corp crashing? I've been doing lots of solos and getting crashed after 10 minutes of specking down. It's so frustrating. Should I really make an ult and bond it just to enjoy some private solo corp?
I've had discussions with Arcane about things we could do to help this, but they're only discussions at this point and nothing concrete to present to the players. But it is something that's on our radar, if that makes sense.
Maybe that's something we could tackle along with the rest, if we ever choose to make changes to the other bosses in that sense. I don't know what solutions you discussed, but let's move on.
Cool, and the last question I've got on my sheet is one that we've asked before. I don't want this to be the last question, but I'll ask it anyway because it's on the sheet. The Pharos asks, can we get a poll for God Capes to get a +1 prayer boost? They're divine capes that have no divine properties, and God Cape loadouts are lacking in total prayer bonus compared to other best in slot loadouts.
I mean, it's just a straight up buff to an item that already exists. But it does make sense. +1 prayer, does it really break anything? But yeah, I mean, it's tricky to approach, really.
I feel like it makes sense, but then...
Sorry, I'll go. We have been talking about equipment rebalancing recently, and there are other items we are looking at as well. This could be one of the items that we at least take up for discussion within the team, right? Sorry, you go.
I was just going to say, this feels like, yes, it makes sense, but we just had a whole discussion about the Legends Cape and buffing something that was old content needlessly, which could almost be applied the same way. I agree that every item could be reviewed on a case-by-case basis, though, right? So.
I guess, you know what, I'll be honest, I'm not too familiar with the lore surrounding Collodion and the Mage Arena, but just because they are attached and affiliated with a god doesn't mean they're necessarily like a really holy or unholy item. So maybe there's a lore reason why it shouldn't be buffed too. Just because somebody's put the name Saradomin on something doesn't mean it's like Saradomin endorsed. Official Saradomin merch.
I mean, you pray to statue of Saradomin to get it, so I mean, perhaps it's all some illusion and fake, but I think it is meant to be like...
Wow, what a bunch of non-believers.
Since you don't want to end on that, can I just say something about Kandarin?
Sorry, Husky?
Sorry, since you didn't want to end on there, can I just say the stuff about Kandarin I mentioned before the stream started? Or like
Just do, yeah.
Sure. So tomorrow's blog is going to outline a lot of changes to a lot of areas, and the biggest one that has the most changes is Kandarin. Mostly for balancing reasons during playtests. The biggest of which is we're not giving Piety for free. You'll need to get it with a combo unlock with Asgarnia. We're removing some quests intentionally. And the second is that we realized we'd completely forgotten the Ardougne diary exists. So obviously we had to go and autocomplete some things, and we have to we had to make tasks for it, right? So because we felt like that was giving a lot of points in an already strong area, we've still done that, but we've reworked Western Provinces to now be the only diary that is a dual area unlock. We'll complete all the Asgarnia parts of it, but you'll have to unlock Tirannwn and Kandarin for that, so it's like a dual area diary there. Yeah, that's just kind of where we're going for it. A lot of the team felt that Piety was just too strong just to get for free. And probably we don't want you to just pick Kandarin for only Piety, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, we've also got a dedicated theory crafting stream on Monday. So if people have a lot of questions about the changes announced and the changes we'll be talking about in the blog tomorrow, then we can look to answer some of those then as well. And with that, I am going to wrap it up. This has been 20 minutes overrunning, so you're very lucky, players. Thank you very much for sticking around, everybody, and Modspear behind the scenes and Modtide on the chat. We'll end it there. We'll be back on Monday with the special league stream, and we'll be back again next Thursday God, I have to keep having to remind myself since we changed the update days and the stream days. We're back next Thursday with normal Q&A as well. That's it. Thank you very much for watching, for tuning in. I enjoyed the stream. I hope you guys did. We'll be seeing you soon. See ya.